is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic.
Hey there,
lights.
lovely listeners, and welcome to another episode of Successfully Chaotic, where we dive deep into the art of finding clarity amidst life's wild ride. I'm Maria Daniels, your host and fellow chaos navigator. It's so awesome to have you join us today. Now, before we jump into the juicy stuff, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and give us a follow on social media at Successfully Chaotic for a daily dose of real life chaos and inspiration. All right, so let's get down to business and talk about something that we all wrestle with: consistency. I'm telling you, what is the deal with being consistent? I know it's not about sticking to a rigid schedule like a robot. It's actually about building habits that help us thrive, but it can be so daunting. And trust me, I know firsthand how hard it can be juggling ADHD, kiddos, putting out fires in my business and in my life. But today in this segment, we're going to dive into what consistency really means and why it is a game changer. All right, so first, let's dive into the science behind habits. I am a science nerd, as many of you probably know, and habits, there's science behind it, just like anything else. Habits are like the unsung heroes of consistency, and they matter because they're the secret sauce to staying on track, even when life feels like it's trying to derail us at every turn. So let's break it down and try to understand why habits are so important, especially when chaos is kind of our constant companion. It's because our brains are fascinating, intricate machines, and they love habits. So when we repeat an action over and over, our brain decides, hey, this must be super important. So it's like a mental shortcut that helps us conserve our energy. And who doesn't need more energy, right? So when we're consistent with our actions, we're essentially training our brains to make things a lot easier for us. So let's imagine this. You're navigating the chaos of daily life, dealing with work and family and health issues and all of the rest of the things that go on in life. Now picture having to consciously make decisions about every little thing. You think you're exhausted now? That would be super exhausting, right? That's where habits come in to save the day. Habits are automated responses that give specific cues or triggers to us. They take any conscious efforts and they turn it into something that's almost effortless. For example, think about brushing your teeth. Do you actively think about each brush stroke of the toothbrush every morning and every night? Probably not. It's because it's a habit. Your brain knows the cue, like waking up or going to bed, for instance, and it knows the routine, like brushing your teeth. So the science part is actually pretty cool. It turns out that our brains have this nifty reward system. So when we complete a habit, our brain releases a dose of dopamine. It's that feel-good neurotransmitter. And this little chemical reward encourages us to keep doing that habit again and again. So it's not just about getting things done. It's about getting a neurological high five from our brain when we do. But here's the kicker. Our brains don't distinguish between good habits or bad habits. So you have to be careful. They are habit agnostic. So if you've got a bad habit that you're trying to kick, your brain's still happily handing out that dopamine for doing the bad habit. So it's kind of tricky, right? But that's where it's critical to be intentional about the habits that we build. We want to train our brain to reward us for positive and consistent actions that align with what we want our goals to be. And that's where the magic of consistency really starts to shine. So by understanding the science, we can consciously shape our habits to help propel us toward our desired outcome, even in the midst of any chaos that's going on. So In our journey to conquer chaos and find that clarity, it's important to remember that habits are actually our trusty sidekicks when we decide to embrace them and nurture them and let them work their science backed magic in our lives. So I think it's important to also realize that consistency, it isn't just a buzzword, it's actually a superpower. And it's seriously amazing. And its perks bring amazing things to our lives. Think about increased productivity, better mental and physical health, and of course, a lot less chaos. So, there are so many stories I can think about just in my own life about the times that I have stuck with something consistently and the magic that happened. But it doesn't mean that we don't kind of fall into those traps of not being consistent, right? Because we all do. Even when we know better, we do. Consistency isn't all sunshine and roses. If it was, then it would be like super easy to do. But we all face these challenges like time management, motivation dips, and then some really big chaotic things that can go in our lives. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some strategies to help conquer those obstacles because, hey, I get it. Trust me, life can get messy. I've been there. Multitasking with, like I mentioned earlier, ADHD, kids, keeping businesses afloat. There's a lot of things that can derail me on a minute to minute basis. So, all right, let's kind of get into the juicy stuff though, because I'm sure by now you're probably wondering, okay, this is really great, Maria, brain rewards, blah, 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 blah. But how do I actually build the consistency? Well, don't worry, I've got your back. So let's roll up our sleeves and dive into some practical tips and techniques that you can start using today. Whether you're wrangling just the normal chaos in your business, health, or personal life, or something even bigger, these strategies will make a world of difference. So here's the deal. You do not need to move mountains every day to stay consistent. That's actually a trap that keeps us from being consistent. Ask me how I know. But small steps can lead to big wins, I promise you. So let's talk about breaking down big goals into manageable chunks and how to keep consistent. That way our consistency fires keep burning, even as life throws surprises our way. Because practical strategies help to conquer some of these things that happen, and it's essential for navigating chaos in our life. So here are some tried and true tactics. Get a pen and paper, okay? I'm gonna throw it out here. Number one, set clear goals. I want you to begin by defining your objectives. What do you want to achieve? I want you to make your goals specific. Remember our SMART goals? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. There's lots of acronyms out there that you can choose, but that one is one that lots of people know. And it helps because having a clear destination gives you a target to work toward. You can tweak it later on. Let's start with something that's simple, right? All right, prioritize tasks is the next thing. Here's the thing. Chaos often stems from having too much on your plate. Again, ask me how I know. So you have to really look at what you're doing, why you're doing it, and start to prioritize. Use techniques like Eisenhower's urgent, important matrix. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's important. Just Google it. You can use it to categorize tasks, focus on what's truly important and not just what's urgent. Because again, those fires can happen and sometimes you have to deal with it, but sometimes they're there and distracting us from what we truly need to do. All right, number 3, time blocking. I love allocating specific time blocks for different activities. It helps to stay organized and ensures that you can allocate enough time for things that are really essential tasks and not just against some of these fires. And you want to include some buffer time for unexpected interruptions, like phone calls or extra emails or whatever, which again, don't let that become a distraction, but there are going to be legitimate things that pop up. So if you include a buffer time, that'll allow you to still stay on task. The next thing is create routines. It is so important to establish a daily and weekly routine that includes dedicated time for work, family, self-care, and relaxation. Nobody is giving out trophies for an overworked entrepreneur. No one, I promise you. We somehow tell ourselves this exists and it doesn't. But routines provide structure and reduces decision fatigue, because I can wear myself out trying to figure out what to do next in a hurry. And I'm sure you can too. So if you go ahead and have it planned out with a routine, it reduces that decision fatigue and it allows you to conserve that energy for more important decisions. The next thing on the list is use technology wisely. It's so important. We've got so many things at our fingertips now. Yes, it can distract us, but also if we leverage it, we can use them as technology productivity tools and use these apps to streamline tasks, set reminders, stay organized. I love to use calendar apps, task management tools, note-taking apps. Some of my favorite things, Monday, Airtable, of course, Google Calendar. A lot of these things are super invaluable to us in our business. Here's another thing. This is the next one. It is a biggie, so hard to do, especially for us entrepreneurs that are used to like managing all the things. But it's important to delegate and outsource. Recognize that you can't do everything. And honestly, you don't want to. You think you do, but you don't. It's important to delegate tasks whenever possible, both at work and at home. So consider outsourcing tasks that don't require your direct attention. Maybe hire a VA to answer some emails that aren't critical for your personal touch on them. It's important to think about doing some of these things. Like, for example, with my podcast, I delegate out editing of the podcast. I delegate out scheduling of the podcast. There's certain things that I delegate out because they're not my everyday things. It's better for me to pay somebody else to do it. They can earn a little money. I can earn a little time back. It's a win-win for everybody. All right. The next thing on the list, practice mindfulness. I wanted to add this on the list because it's something that we typically don't put on our productivity to-do list, but we should, because mindfulness techniques such as meditation and deep breathing exercises help you to manage stress and also help you to stay focused on the present moment. They're actually powerful tools for helping to not only reduce chaos in your mind, but allows you to set yourself up for wins because it clears your mind of all the clutter that doesn't need to be there anyway. All right, next on the list, and I'm talking to you people pleasers, learn to say no. Saying no, once you're used to it, can actually be liberating. Of course, you want to politely decline, but it's okay to politely decline commitments that are not aligning with your goals or your values, because overcommitting leads to burnout and inconsistency. And remember what I said earlier, nobody is handing out trophies for the burnout entrepreneur. It's not happening. So we need to forget that whole busyness thing and take a deep breath and forget about the overcommitment, forget about doing too much, and let's focus on the things we really need to do. All right, next on the list, adaptability. It is so important to be open to change and willing to adjust your plans when necessary, because again, life is unpredictable and being flexible is key to maintaining consistency. And I think it's important to say that because I think sometimes, you think that you lay out these productivity tools and then it's all, into flames whenever life throws something our way. That's not what it means. It means, okay, well, today, we hit a speed bump. There wasn't much I could do about it. Let's see how we can reassess and make the best of today with what I had planned. And tomorrow is a whole other day, right? I like, I don't even remember who said it, but I like the idea of breaking my day into quarters. So instead of like something happening, be like, oh my gosh, the whole day's ruined. Now it's like, just the first quarter. The first quarter of the day is a wash, but I'm going to, do second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. I'm going to rock it out. It's important to kind of think about those things that kind of help us out with that. All right, next on the list, hopefully you're taking notes on this. I know I'm going over this pretty quickly, but I wanted to get this information out there. Accountability. Share your goals with somebody who can hold you accountable. It can be a friend, family member, mentor, coach, whoever, but regular check-ins are important because it's going to help you stay on track. And speaking of stay on track, the next thing is actually track your progress. You need to be monitoring your progress regularly. Use journals, apps, or spreadsheets, or whatever that you choose to use, but record your achievements, record your setbacks, because tracking not only keeps you motivated, but it provides insights for how you can improve. Like if you're having a problem staying consistent in a specific area and that keeps coming up over and over and over, you're going to be able to say, I wonder why that's happening and how can I solve that? It's going to give you invaluable insights. All right, the next thing is celebrate the small wins. I said earlier that nobody's giving trophies out for, burnout people, but you can give yourself a little trophy for, hitting some milestones. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to wait for major milestones either to acknowledge your progress. Celebrating small victories along the way boosts morale and reinforces positive habits. So it'll help you stay consistent. All right, next on the list, self-care. I mentioned mindfulness earlier. This kind of goes hand in hand. Self-care is so important for everyone. Taking care of your physical and your mental well-being, it's paramount. You have to ensure that you're getting enough sleep. Again, nobody is giving trophies for a burnout entrepreneur. You have to eat nourishing foods because your body needs that fuel. Exercise regularly. You got to move your body and allocate time for relaxation. And I get it. You're busy. You have more things to do than you have time to do it. It's the last thing that you think you have time for. But I promise you, you either choose to rest or your body is going to choose it for you. And that's going to be a whole lot more time than if you just went ahead and took the time to relax. All right. Next on the list, continuous learning. We always want to be open to learning and improving our skills, because knowledge is a powerful tool for overcoming obstacles and adapting to change. And it also helps to keep us fresh in our industry. Plus, if you're like me and you're kind of a nerd, you find it a little fun. I love learning. I always love learning new things. All right, next on the list, again, this is a hard one, but it's the last thing that I'm going to be listing out today. And I'll save this for last because I see you, and I know what you're thinking when I'm going to say this. Seek support. This is possibly harder than delegating, because a lot of times with delegating, we're paying somebody. Seeking support, we're usually just like asking for help. And that is so hard. But I want you to not hesitate to seek support from friends, family, other professionals. Sometimes even just kind of venting or discussing some challenges with other people that care about you or other like-minded professionals helps to provide a different perspective, which can give you valuable insights and solutions. All right, I know that was a lot. So if you kind of missed some of it, you can hit that rewind button, kind of jot them down. But it's important to remember that consistency is a journey, not a destination. And it is okay to face obstacles and setbacks along the way. And I think it's important to also remember that the key is really to just persist and adapt and to keep moving forward despite the chaos that life throws your way. So like I said a minute ago, I know that was a lot to kind of like throw out in this like 20 minutes, but I wanted to get it all out. And I know you've got things to do, right? But that's a wrap for today's episode of Successfully Chaotic. And we talked about the power of consistency. And I really hope after this that you're feeling inspired and ready to take your own consistency journey by the horns. And also remember that I get it. Life's a whirlwind and things happen. And if you fall on your face today, there's always tomorrow. It's okay. Stand back up and remember why you started. Remember what you're supposed to be doing. Remember your why. And remember that it's okay to seek help, right? All right, so if you found value in today's episode, if you would please do me a solid and share it with your friends and maybe toss us up a review on your favorite go-to podcast platform. Your feedback actually means the world to us. And I want to encourage you to stay real, stay consistent, and remember that you are the captain of your own chaos ship. So this is Maria Daniels signing off for now. Until next time.
No telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights. Won't stop for traffic lights.